So let's get started. So in this today's agenda, we are going to discuss about the importance of QTP and what is a QTP and what is the syllabus that we are going to cover from our QAtestingtraining.com in a QTP, and what is the training approach that we are following for the years to train the candidates very well, and so that they can be very comfortable when they complete their training from the QAtestingtraining.com. Okay, and after that we will see the how this training is going to help you in your career. Okay, and then later part we will see so how the QTP is look like in a UI. Okay, how the IDE exactly looks like. So what are the components of the QTP and how each and the features of the QTP works, that we will understand by going through the QTP IDE. Okay, now so without wasting the time, let's go to the automation testing. Okay, so what is first, we will understand what is an automation testing, then we will understand the importance of the QTP in an IT industry. Okay. The automation testing is a process where software or an automation tool is used to execute the script in a controlled and a desired manner to compare the expected result with the actual result. So this is also what we do in the manual testing as well. Okay, the same thing we are doing in a manual testing as well. So we are comparing the expected result with the actual result, so that we can assure that the requirement or the feature, whatever it was implemented to work for, it is working. So I think my net problem was there. So I was talking about the today's agenda. Okay, in this today's agenda, we are going to discuss about the importance of the QTP, okay, in the IT industry, and the syllabus that we are going to cover from the QA testing training during the training QTP training, and what are the topics that we are going to cover, and how we are going to cover, and what is the approach we are following throughout the years to train the trainees on a QTP, and how it is going to help them in getting the job or working on the QTP tool. And later part we will have an overview on the QTP IDE. IDE is nothing but a interactive development environment. Okay, all the tools so which provides the platform to work on, that is being called as an IDE. Okay, and Eclipse, if you see, if you heard about it, Eclipse also one of the IDE. That is nothing but an interactive development environment which will be used to develop the application, to write the programs to. So in that environment you can write any programs like a Java, C, C++. So that depends upon the things. So here we are concentrating on the QTP tool only. So let's discuss on that one only. So what is a QTP? First of all, is it is an automation testing tool provided by the HP company. So earlier it was a part of a Mercury Interactive company. So when it was a 6. It was started with the 6.5 earlier. Then now it is the current version of the QTP is 11.5. Now it is being called as a HP UFT. That UFT is nothing but a unified functional testing. So now the currently most of the industries are still running with the QTP 10 and 11 only. So still they are not migrated to the QTP 11.52. Okay, why? Because there is a drastic change in the UI comparing to the QTP 11 and the 11.52. Okay, there is a drastic change in the UI. So because of that, the companies may migrate or may not be migrating very sooner to the latest version. So in that latest version, what the QTP HP has done is they have integrated the HP service test tool as well. So they have integrated two tools, HP QTP plus HP service test. The HP QTP is used to automate the functional test cases as well. This HP service test is used to test the SOAP web services testing. Okay, web service testing. For a web service testing only, this service test is used. So what they have done is, in the recent years they have integrated those two tools, HP QTP plus HP test service test, to bring in the new era in the automation testing. So why they have brought like that is, so in the future there may be a good boom in the service testing as well. So because of that, what they have done is, so they have clubbed those two tools together to form a single tool, and those tools will be accessible only based on the license that you are going to purchase when you are going to work on a QTP. Okay, based on the license only, you will be getting the access to the QTP or a service test. Okay, now that is all about the QTP tool from the HP company. Okay, now what is an automation testing? So what is the QTP all about? So that QTP is used for an automation testing. First, you understand what is an automation testing first. Automation testing is a process where software or an automation tool is used to execute test scripts in a controlled and a designed manner to compare the expected results with the actual results. So however, we are comparing the actual results and with the expected result while doing the manual testing as well only. Then what is the need of an automation tool to do the same thing again? Okay, it is saying that executing the test script in a controlled and a desired manner. Okay, so that is one of the advantage thing, and why exactly it is required to automate the things when the things can be achieved using a manual testing itself only. So why? Because so when initially we have an application developed, so which is having a very small scalability, so then no need of the having the automation testing. But when you are increasing the scalability of the application for further, you are adding the more features, you are adding the more enhancements, and you are developing the application very broadly. Okay, then it becomes very difficult to execute in each and every test cases for each and every release or a phase. So whatever the cycles that the organization has decided to go for, so it may be difficult to achieve all the test cases to be executed at a lesser time. So because of which the IT industry has come up with tools. So the tool, what it does is, it repeats the same steps what the user has intended to do it. So what the user can do is, he can develop the script. He can develop the script for the test cases which he has got. So he can automate those test cases. So what the script does is, it does the same thing what it is being instructed by the automation tester. So if he has given a certain set of test cases, he has been asked to develop a script. So whatever the steps which is desired to which are designed to execute, those scripts he will be developed, and he can use the same script for the next release or for the release. How many releases it comes, no, he can make use of the same thing. So using which, what a automation tester can achieve, what a company can achieve. So what they can achieve here is, they can save the time, they can execute the number of test cases in a very less time. And when it is needed is when you have to have a repetitive testing to see that a functionality behaves in the same fashion. So why we need to check the functionality behaves in the same fashion? So when it comes to the regression part, we need to check the functionality of the application so that it has to behave the same way which it has behaved in the last version of the application. So the application is working fine in a first version of the application. Okay, the features in the application are working fine in a first version, but in the next version there may be defect fixes are there, some enhancements are there. Okay, because of the defect fixes and because of the enhancements, it shouldn't have affected the existing functionalities. It shouldn't have affected. So to assure that one, we will be doing the regression testing. Okay, during the regression testing, you may be having thousands of test cases to execute if it is a large application. Okay, if it is a small application, then there is no need of to go for the automation testing. But if you have a big application, then you might be having the thousands of test cases to execute. But to achieve that thing, you may be having a less time to execute. In that case, you need to have a more number of resources. So more number of resources in this, it's a burden on the organization or the company or the client. So they may not be able to afford the things. The resources needed, and along with that, they need a computers, they need a system, they need a place, everything they needed. So for that, the investment will be more. But if they have an QTP resource, an automation, sorry, not only QTP, if they have an automation resource, they then single automation resource can replace 2 to 3 manual testing resources. It's not, it's, and moreover, want to say is automation testing is not completely a replacement of a manual testing. Okay, just to execute the number of test cases in a very lesser time to achieve the quality and to achieve the deadlines of the project. So we will be using the automation testing in the project. And typically, if we look at the small applications, we might not test the models already tested. Okay, in a small applications, we will not be testing all the features. Okay, if it is small application, so we will do a sanity or small testing around, and then we will assure that the functionality of the application is good, and we can go ahead with the further testing. Okay, and so on. Manual testing will help us for the small applications. When it comes to the big applications, if we look at the large applications or the products where there may be a releases, many releases, and the different models, as the models get integrated with the testing effort increases. As the models get integrated to the existing application now, then the testing effort increases. So if the testing effort increases, it doesn't mean that we need to increase the testing resources. So we have to come up with a solution that which will help us with the existing resource only. We are going to achieve the things in a given time only, and the time is less. To overcome these all the difficulties only, the tool, the automation testing concept has been brought into the IT industry. So what are the benefits that we can have on after implementing the automation testing? So we can, so the benefits are, we can say, is a fast. Okay, when you implement an automation testing on a project, no, so with the automation scripts run significantly faster than the manual test execution. So the manual resource might be taking a 5 minutes or a 6 minutes, depends. Okay, depends upon the environment and all, and depends upon his capability of executing the test cases. Okay, so he might be taking 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes, but tool takes a decided number of seconds to execute the test case, but it is more faster than the human resource. How much he is taking and how much QTP is taking. When you compare it, the tool takes a very less time than the manual resource. That is why it is faster than the human resource, that is manual execution, and it is very reliable as well. Why it is called as a reliable? Test performs when you prepare a test script using an automation tool, not only QTP, any other tool if you take, no, it is going to be very reliable. So the test performs precisely the same operation each time they run. So when you develop a script for any manual test case, no, so the script will be static. Okay, the script is going to be static. So what it does is, whatever you wrote, it does the same thing only. It will not deviate from the things what you have written in the script. So that is why it is been called as a reliable. That means test perform precisely the same operation each time they run, and thereby eliminating the human errors. So while manually testing the application from the manual resource, human resource, so he might be doing some mistakes here and there while executing the test cases. But so when you write the script using any tool, so the tool doesn't do any mistakes, because we only develop the tool and we are instructing the tool to do these steps. So we are not writing anything apart from the steps that it has to execute. So that is why it has been called as a very reliable tool to implement that on the automation side. And one more advantage is repeatable. The repeatable, why it is being called as repeatable is, the scripts which are developed in the first version of the application can be used in the second version of the application. Even you can integrate the extra features, or you can integrate the other functionalities with the other scripts with the existing scripts as well. And the programmable. So why it is been called as one can program sophisticated tests that brings out the hidden information. So you can program the script in such a way that you can bring out the hidden features of the application as well. Okay, and these are the advantages of the implementing the automation testing. So what could be the disadvantages of going with the automation testing? Okay, there. So when we have the advantages, there might be definitely there will be a disadvantage as well. So what could be the disadvantages as well? So disadvantages of implementing the automation testing is, as I told, manual automation testing is not completely a replacement of a manual testing. So we can't automate everything in the application. So like for example, look and feel of the application we can't automate. Okay, you take any tool in the IT industry, you can't test the look and feel of the application. For that, we need a manual tester to test the look and feel of the application. Automation test automation cannot be applied for small projects. Okay, because the tool itself costly. Okay, so when you have the small application, then there is no need of going with the automation tool. The manual resources more than enough to go ahead with. So if you planning to implement on a smaller application, then it will be very costly for the organization. The organization go for the open source tool if it is a web-based application like Selenium. They can go for a if it is an small application, and that too it's a web-based application. But if the organization is going for a window-based application, if they have some products like a window-based applications, then they can't go for the Selenium kind of tools, which supports only the browser applications. And one more the disadvantages for the automation testing is the skill resources. Okay, it is very hard to find the skilled resources on a automation testing. So we need to train them on. So we need to train the resources on the automation testing. So we may not be finding them, and we need to train them. Even if we have the resources to work on that, we need to train them. So training them, again, we will be spending the time and the money for that. So that is where it becomes a costlier to implement. And there are no tools available for automation testing which are developed in a technologies like a multimedia. Okay, like a multimedia, how it simply when you play it goes on automatically, it plays everything, right? So there is no automation tool till now. It is not found like in a media player like that. Okay, so there it comes the disadvantage of the automation testing. Okay, so till now, all of you, any questions, any doubts to ask? Hello, Bhatesh, anyone is
Uh,
having questions
so
till
so
now?
I just no, so far there are no questions. Um,
Okay, fine.
but you said that this QTP is predominantly used for the automation. I mean, it is used for automation, but can you give some real life scenarios or the set of applications that are specifically targeted for?
As well. So we will be covering all these topics: automation testing in general, information what is an automation testing, okay, and what is the automation efforts estimation. So what is the POC preparation and ROI? So the POC is nothing but a proof of concept. So before we go up for any automation testing on a project, no, we have to provide, we have to have one proof of concept document so that we can assure the client that using this tool we are going to be benefited with this much. So that is called a proof of concept. So before implementation, we are going to give you the full evidence to the client that so if we implement the automation testing on our project, so we are going to benefited with this much. Like kind of statistical analysis will be given comparing to the other tools. The ROI is nothing but a return on investment. So in detail, we will learn during the training process what is the POC and ROI, and we will also discuss about the other tools which are available in IT industry with respect to the testing. Okay, test management tools, functional regression testing tools, and the performance testing tools. There may so each does a different activities. and even we will discuss about the QTP licenses. So how many types of licenses are there, how different they are from each other, and we will discuss all about rest of the things like what is the QTP and what are the features of the QTP, how QTP is going to identify the objects in the application. Okay, so these are the course contents. Again, if you want to see please visit our website to go through the course content. Okay, and if you can ask me any doubts if you have on the course content, if it is not been covered over here, if you let us know, we will cover that too as well during the training period. Okay, now let us straight away go to the tool and see how the QTP tool looks like. Okay, so this is the QTP. It's a desktop Windows-based application. Once you install it, you will be getting an icon like this, QTest Professional. So now, if you go for the duration of the this course is 15 days. Okay, so it might get extended above 15 days as well. Okay, that depends upon your grasping things. If you are grasping very fast, then I can complete in 15 days. If you, it depends upon your comfortability. So I'll try to finish the 15 days. If you are not comfortable with, or if you are not feeling that you are not getting to the things, then I will extend the classes for further also till you are not comfortable with the topics all which we are going to discuss during the training. Okay, yes, so we will be having the daily also, and if you want to go for a weekend also, we have the weekend classes as well. And so this is the QTP tool. So after installation, you will be getting, it's a as I told, it's a window based application. It works on only Windows application. It doesn't support the Linux or a Unix. It supports only, it works on only in a Windows OS. Okay, so after I have installed it, so I will during the training period tool, right? So when you install the QTP, you will be having the things, you will be finding an icon on the desktop. Okay, so as I told, it's a Windows based, purely Windows based application. So I'll give you the link and everything to download, from where to download and how to install it. So I'll be training on that as well. Okay, so after the installation, double click on the tool icon from the desktop. You'll be coming across this screen. It's called a QTP Professional Add-in Manager. Okay, so you'll be, by default, you will be coming up across ActiveX, Visual Basic, and the web. So these are the default add-ins for the QTP. Okay, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of having the add-ins? Why we need to have the add-in? First of all, we need to understand. So what is this add-in manager? So add-in manager is the one. So if the application is developed in a different technologies and the application is not supporting the QTP, then we need to go for a that add-in to have the add-in, that we need to go for that add-in to in the QTP. For example, if your application is developed in a .NET technology, okay, and the application is developed in .NET technology, and the elements are nothing but the objects which are present in the application. Okay, now for example, I'll take one application here. Here, so I open a Facebook application over here. Here, all the elements are treated as an object. Okay, so whether QTP is going to identify this object or not. So before we implement, before we go for any automation tool, no, we need to identify whether this tool is capable or not, whether tool is good enough for this application or not. How do we identify that one? So using the tool only, what we can do is, so whether QTP is able to identify the all the elements which are available in the application. So if it is able to identify, then it is good to go for that particular tool. If it is not able to identify, then we need to go for a other tool. But QTP has got a wide range of support. Okay, QTP has got a wide range of support. If this application, assume that this application is developed in a .NET technology, then QTP is failing. Now you have the trial version or a freeware version with you to work on it. Then QTP may be failing to identify this object. It's a text box. Okay, it has been called as a web edit in the QTP. Okay, then if it is not supporting, then we need to have the add-in manager, which will help us to identify the object uniquely. Okay, so which will help us to identify the elements or objects in the application uniquely. So for different technologies, there is a different set of add-ins are available. So for .NET application, we have a .NET add-in manager, and for Java, we have a Java add-ins. For a SAP application, we have a SAP add-in. For different technology application, there is a separate add-in manager is available. So if the application is not identifying the objects in the application perfectly, then we should go for that particular add-in. So for that, to buy that add-in, you need to again pay the money for that one. The add-ins comes with a license, so again you need to pay the money for that. That is why QTP is little costlier than the comparing to the other tools. So that is why we need to have the add-ins to be added in the QTP tool before we go for a automation testing if it is required. Okay, if the application is not supporting, then we should go for the respective add-in in the QTP. So again, while launching the application itself, you should select only desired add-ins. You should not select all the add-ins which are installed in the QTP. Make sure that you select only those add-ins which are required for your application. If you select all the add-ins at a once, no, what happens? QTP becomes very slow. Okay, right now I'm going to select only the web add-in. So already my .NET and WF license are expired. Okay, now on launching, will be coming across the window QTP Test Professional 10. So I'll try to take you on the training on the QTP 11. So this is the 10th version which I'm using currently in the company, as well as only here in the for the training purpose. It's an advanced keyword driven automation testing tool. Okay, so this is how the QTP tool looks like. Okay, so here it has got a expert view. These are the tool options. We will discuss about these things in later part. So the main part, while working on QTP, we will be finding only these things. Okay, keyword view, expert view, a data table, the most important thing in the automation testing, and the active screen. The information screen will be, you can see more on this one in the later part. Here the process guidance, debug viewer, all about these things we will be discussing in detail one by one during the training period. First we will understand what is this expert view, the main important. This is called a test pane. This two, including these two panes, we call as a test pane. This is a test pane in which we will be developing the test script. Okay, and here is the data table which will be used to store the data to parameterize our test scripts. Okay, the parameterization in the sense, if you have a script developed for one particular function and you have been asked to test that particular feature for a different set of data, then we should parameterize. Parameterize means repeating the same step for a different set of data. That is called parameterization. And the active screen, here you can see this active screen, right? This active screen help us to see the exact screenshot of the application while recording. If you have used the recording option, then only you will be able to see the exact image of the application, exact image of the application over here for the step that you performed in the application. Okay, there's so many options are available here in this tool. Okay, that we will discuss in detail one by one. The QTP has got a three modes of a recording. One is a normal recording. When you launch the QTP, it will be a default mode, that is called a normal recording or a context sensitive recording mode. And the other two recording modes are analog recording mode and the low level recording mode. So these will be used very rarely. Okay, this analog recording mode and low level recording mode. So by default, when you launch QTP, it will be a context sensitive recording mode, or it can be called as a normal recording mode. So I'll explain about these two, analog recording mode and low level recording mode. Practically we will see later. The analog recording mode, when we go for analog recording mode, only when we need to track the mouse movements or keyboard actions that we perform on the application. Okay, So for example, we need to track the signature of the application, signature on the application. Okay, that time this analog record recording mode is going to help us. Okay, and the low level recording mode, still if the application, the QTP is failing to identify the some of the objects in the application. Now here I say that this login button is there. Okay, now QTP is failing to identify this one, then we will be going with this low level recording mode. Okay, this low level recording mode, what it does is it will capture the x and y coordinate of this object in the screen. Okay, this from the screen, no, it will capture the x and y coordinate. It will take the x and y value of the application and it will develop the script for that one. So for that we'll see in detail of during the training period. So this recording mode, it has been totally vanished in nowadays. Okay, so we'll be developing the script based on the object repository. So that I will teach you how to create the local object repository and how to create the shared object repository. Nowadays in the industry they are going with the shared object repository. Okay, that you can how to do it, that and all we are going to discuss during the training period. Okay, straight away I'll explain you how QTP exactly identifies the objects in the application. Okay, now this is a text box. Okay, now manually, so for example we'll take this first name, last name, user, your email, just sign up, we'll concentrate on this one. Okay, here the first name, last name, your mail, retype your email, then password, then you need to select. So how QTP is identify all these elements? Okay, how QTP is identifying these all elements? So based on that only, the QTP has certain set of object classes decided in it. Okay, that is called object identification. That is what all the elements which are available in the application, QTP is treating them as an element, as an object. Okay, that is why, so when we select a web, you will be seeing the test object classes. Okay, test object classes. Here in this we have certain set of object classes defined over here. Okay, here you see the link. Link in the sense you already by knowing it one. The link which is available. So when you click it, it will display the new page or it will go to the new page, right? When I click it here, it will take you something, right? That's called a link. Okay, and if you take a page, this entire thing, the thing which starts from here, the thing which starts from here, that is being taken into consideration as a page object. And if you take the web button, the button which is available in the application. Okay, how do we see that as a button? How do we see that it's a text box? How do we see that as a drop down? Okay, to know that one only, QTP has given one option called object spy. Okay, before that we will see, for example, we will take only one web editor. Okay, web edit is nothing but a text box. The QTP identifies a text box as a web edit. Okay, text box in a web application is being called as a web edit test object class. So what QTP does is, when you record an action on a text box, so what the QTP does is it takes the HTML tag and a name property value from the application. So we are decided with the some mandatory properties. This web edit is an object, so it to identify the text box in the application. So to identify it as a text box on the application, so it has taken some mandatory properties, assistive properties. Okay, mandatory properties are, here we are deciding with take a HTML tag and the name property. Okay, take these two property values from the application. So where these properties are available, okay, where these property values are available, we have decided with the properties, but where these properties values are available, these property values are available within the application. So that you can see from the source code of the application. You don't worry on the source code, just I'm giving the picture how it retrieves the property values. QTP does all the things, you don't need to worry on the so things, how the value comes from, where the values comes from and all. You no need to worry on the view source, just I'm giving the picture how the value will be triggered from the into the value. Okay, just here this source code will have, so all the tools in the industry, they makes use of this view source code to retrieve the property value. Each and every object in the application will have a certain set of properties. So the QTP has decided already. So most of the applications will have these properties for each and every element in the application. Now if I say the name property, okay, then we will go for an application in the view source. Okay, name property is there. Here you can see this is a name property. Now I'm looking for only the first name property. Okay, here you see, sorry. Okay, here is the first name. So we plan to go for this first name. So it is been treated as a first name. The value is a first name. Okay, value is nothing but a property. Area required is a property. Placeholder is the property. ID is the property. Label is the property. Okay, the class is also property. So these are the properties, and the values are nothing but the values which are assigned to that particular property. Okay, now for example, now when I record an action on this one, you'll come to know. So here you just concentrate on this one, HTML tag and the name. Okay, so we need to look for the name property. I'll show you. Just I will record an action. During this, about the recording and all, I will teach you during the training process. I'll just enter here my name. Okay, then I'll come to the tool. I'll stop it. Okay, so I'll come to the object repository. So which is the heart of a QTP. Object repository is a heart of a QTP which stores the properties in the property value of an object inside it, and during the runtime it compares the test objects with a runtime object. The test objects are nothing but a object which are stored in the object repository, and objects which are available in the application, that is called application under test, AUT, called as a runtime object. Okay, here you see when I performed an action on the first name field, so it has taken the name property and HTML tag property values. It is being called as a input. It is being called as a first name. Now where these values are coming from? These values are coming from the source of the application. Okay, now let us see that. Okay, here you see the first name. The first name is the value for the name. Here is the name. Sorry, here is the name. Name is the property which is visible in the red, right? That is a name property, and the value which is assigned to that name property is the first name. Got it? The similarly for the HTML tag. HTML tag is the input. If you search for HTML tag inside it, that is also a property. So you may be having a lot many things. If it is not there, then by default it will be a input. Okay. So likewise, from the source of the application only, all the properties will be taken into consideration, and that property value will be stored in the object repository along with the properties. So during the playback, what happens is, now I will remove this value from here, application. Now I'll mention here testing. Now here you see you are seeing the active screen. So when I record it, it is showing the same exact picture what we have done on the application, exact replica of the action that we performed on it. Okay. Now when playback, what happens is it looks for that property. It looks for that object with the property, and it places the value in that object. How it is identifying? It will again go into the object repository, and it looks for this object first. First it looks for this object. That this object is nothing but a browser object. Then it looks for the page. Here you can see in detail. It looks for the class object called a browser. Then it looks for the class object called a page. Then it looks for an object web edit in that page with these properties and the property values. If the name property is found with the first name, okay, in this application, if it is found an object with the property name called first name and with the HTML tag property with the value input value, then it does the action what you intended over here. Okay, the set operation is used to enter the value inside the text field. That is nothing but a web edit. Now here you see the architecture of hierarchy of the script. First, it will take the browser. Browser is nothing but a complete browser over here, the application. Okay, then it will go to the browser may be having different pages. Okay, the browser is static, but the pages are changing. So that is why the hierarchy is different for a web-based application comparing to the window application. So when you go for a window-based application, when you switch from one window to other window, the previous window you will not be able to see it. But in a browser application, the browser is static, but the pages will be changing. Okay. Here first is the browser, then we'll come for the page, then in that page we are going to work on a one object. Now here you see, now suppose if you want to work on other object in this application, here till here it will be the same, browser and the page will be the same, but this objects will be different. The operation that you are going to work on, those will be different depending upon your execution criteria. Okay, so as I told, during the execution time, during the runtime, what the QTP does is it compares the test object properties with the runtime object properties. So what is the test object? The test objects are nothing but which are stored in the object repository. Okay, when you record an action on the application, so all the things will be stored in the object repository with the properties and the property values. And what it does is during the runtime, so it will compare those properties and the property values with respect to the application's properties and the property values. If there is a change, then it will not work out. Now suppose if you want to enter something over here in the last name section. Okay, now I want straight away I want to change without modifying this existing script. What I will do is I will want to know without opening the source of the page. Without opening the source of the page, I want to know the properties and the property values of this last name field. How would I know that one? To know that one, QTP has given one good feature called an ObjectSpy. That is called here. It is here ObjectSpy. Okay, the ObjectSpy will help you to know the properties and the property values of the runtime object. So how this QTP ObjectSpy works is, you can see it here over here, a man with a cap, or you can go to the tool and you can select the ObjectSpy. It is not going to generate any script and all. So it's in a helping point which will give you the information about the object which is available in the application. What kind of information it will give? What are the properties and the property values of the object, and what kind of operation we can perform on that particular object. Such kind of information we can retrieve using a ObjectSpy tool. How do we use that ObjectSpy tool is, click on the ObjectSpy option, okay, an icon from the tool, then you will be finding a hand icon on that option. Okay, take the hand icon and release your hand icon on the desired object. Okay, once you release the hand icon on the object, sorry, it is not released properly. Okay, now here you see it will give you the exact description of the object. So here is a web edit. Again, we pointed our hand icon on the text box. So the text box is being identified as a web edit from the QTP, and it has retrieved the properties. These many properties are associated with that object. Okay, so we can take any of these properties to identify that object. To identify in the sense we can mention that inside the script to identify that object. Okay, and we can mention these values are retrieved from the source of the application. Except this, the rest of the values are retrieved from the source page of the application. So that means you no need to go to the source page by right clicking on it. So just make use of ObjectSpy to know the properties and the property values of the object. And so now we came about the properties and what are the operations that we can perform on the object. So that will come to know by clicking on the operation tab. So these many operations are there that we can perform on the object. So we will be learning all about these operations, okay, while during the training process. What is this get to properties, getter property, what is an object, object refresh, set. So already we knew, okay, we saw this set, what this set operation does. So we will be calling it as a method as well. Okay, what this set method does? The set method does entering the value inside the text box. Set secure. So set secure is used to enter the encrypted value inside the text box. So when you go for entering the value inside the password field, it should not be visible, right? So when you're trying to enter a value in encrypted format, then you should use the set secure method to enter the value inside the text box. So similarly, so many operations are there for each and every object inside the application. So we'll be learning one by one in detail during the training period. Okay, and this is a simple example on the web editor. So how QTP identifies other objects? Okay, so that I already shown you in the object identification, which comes under the tools. Okay, to know in detail, you can go to the object identification window, and there you can select the web from the environment, which environment you are working on. So currently I'm working on a web based application, then here I'm getting the environment web. Then on selecting the web environment, you will be finding these many objects. So it's a freeware version, you will be having the limited things which are listed over here, but the most which are commonly used all are listed over here. And each and every object will be having the certain set of mandatory properties. Even you can decide these mandatory properties. Okay, normally in the industry, the team lead or a project lead will be deciding the mandatory properties for the each and every object. So he can add more number of properties, or he can add or he can delete as well by checking the add and remove properties. He can add the sections. So I will be explaining in detail more on this, what is the mandatory properties, assistive properties, and what is the smart identification, ordinal identifiers. So only thing, if you are very comfortable in understanding this, if you once you understand the object identification and object repository, then QTP is nothing. Okay, so let me give me a clear picture on the object. What exactly an object is, and what is the property and the property value. Okay, so you would have seen all the objects which are visible to you in front of you, know, all are objects only. Each and every object will be having a certain set of properties and the property values. For example, if you take a car is also an object. So what are the properties of the car? Okay, four wheels, its body, its color, its structure, and what are the methods associated with that car. So you can uh, press on a brake is one of the method to stop the car. Escalator, okay, so you accelerator, when you press it, it will go faster, and you can move steering, you can use the steering to give the direction to the car speed. Okay, so those are the methods associated. Methods are nothing but operations, don't get confused. Okay, the car has got a properties, okay, to identify it as uniquely, and it has got values as well. Okay, when you say property, okay, then I say color is one of the property. It has got one color. What would be the color? I'll say red. Okay, then wheels. So wheels, it has got four wheels. Okay, then so these are the properties and the values. And for example, okay, then operations associated with that car. Okay, brake. Okay, brake is one of the operation. Steering, then accelerator, so another one. steering, brake. These are the operations. Likewise, in the application also, we will be having set of objects. So each set of objects will be having a certain set of properties to uniquely identify it, and each set of object will be having the set of properties and the property values. So we'll be learning in detail on how QTP identify each and every object uniquely, and if it is not uniquely identifying, what we should do to uniquely identify that thing. So there it comes the object identification called ordinal identifiers and the smart identification, how to decide the mandatory properties and assistive properties, that we are going to discuss in detail about that one. Okay, so do you have any questions till now? Uh, Bhartesh?